Hey there, fellow wanderers. Tonight, we step into a world of flickering torchlight and echoing laughter, into the grand stone halls of a medieval castle, where shadows dance and jesters rule the room, if only for a moment. Picture yourself at the edge of a noble gathering. The air hums with the clink of goblets, low murmurs of gossip, and the rising anticipation for tonight's entertainment. Flames cast golden halos on stone walls, and from behind a velvet curtain emerges the Jester, cap jingling, eyes sharp. A fool, they called him, but within that painted smile lies wit sharper than any sword. In these courts, laughter wasn't always safe, and the one who joked often knew truths no one else dared to speak aloud. So before we settle in among kings and courtiers, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if stories of hidden wisdom in foolish places strike a chord. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from, and what time would the castle's doors close in your part of the world? Now, dim the lights. Let your fan echo like torchlight flickering through stone corridors. Let's begin. Welcome to a world where every gesture and joke could mean the difference between delighting the court or ending in disgrace. Here, you're just as likely to hear the whispers of court intrigue as you are the boisterous laughter echoing from a jester's performance. The jester's job, after all, is a perilous dance between truth and jest, with no room for error. You probably won't survive this stint as a jester, but hey, who doesn't love a good balancing act? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, I'd love to know where you are in the world and what time it is there. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The medieval court is a place of spectacle, a showcase of wealth and power, wrapped in traditions that both bind and define. As you glide through the crowded hall, you notice the hierarchy of court life visible in the seating arrangements. Nobles and dignitaries, robed in opulent fabrics, occupy the best vantage points. You, as the prospective jester, stand amidst a gallery of expression and expectation, a living tapestry of medieval life. As nerve-wracking as it seems, the medieval court presents something extraordinary. It's not just about royal decrees and alliances, it's a vibrant display of human emotions, veiled under layers of etiquette and formality. Here, life plays out in grand productions where jesters take center stage, enchanting, provoking, and sometimes infuriating their audiences. It's a role draped in both reverence and derision, where you must keep your wits as sharp as your tongue. In entering this world, you'd be performing in front of critical eyes, stepping gingerly between the roles of entertainer and subtle commentator. The jester is the court's chosen fool, wearing the motley to divert, distract, and dare we say, offer perspective. Historians still argue whether this role was one of significant influence or simply a tolerated diversion. Regardless, the jester is an essential cog in the machinery of courtly life, moving fluidly between laughter and touchy subjects. Your jester's attire is designed to catch the eye with its jingling bells and clashing patterns, a kaleidoscope of colours meant to mask the subtle dance of wit that unfolds. Think of it as medieval camouflage, providing cover and comedic flair that keeps the court merry. With each jest and gesture, the jester navigates the whims of nobility and the intricacies of rank. One wrong word, and you could find yourself out of favour, or worse, hustled out of the hall altogether. But therein lies the jester's charm, the ability to speak truths in jest, to reflect society's quirks and inconsistencies like a funhouse mirror. Tonight you catch glimpses of this theatrical tapestry. Jesters performing slapstick routines, juggling, and delivering quips that seem light but carry weight. Each performance serves as both entertainment and subtle social commentary. Remember, even in medieval times, being the life of a party came with its own set of precarious stakes. As you move through the court, you notice the jesters mingling, their laughter providing a comforting backdrop. It's an intoxicating environment filled with the aroma of roasted meats and spiced wine, where merriment and madness seem just a breath away. The jester, a lodestone of chaotic energy, draws all eyes as they spin tales, light-hearted yet laced with observations sharp enough to cut. Among the jesters, competition is fierce, not for favour alone, but for the privilege of speaking freely in a world tightly bound by hierarchy. Your place in this medieval court is ephemeral, a swirl of laughter and lingering whispers. But isn't that the beauty of jest? To find in comedy a reflection, a soft landing in a world where power and politics often reign with iron fists. For now, allow the laughter and lighting to guide your steps through this medieval masquerade. After all, the world of the jester is one of infinite possibilities, where the boundary between jest and earnestness blurs, offering glimpses of truth amidst the riddles. The birth of the jester role is a fascinating tale that unfolds not out of mere want for entertainment, but rather out of a necessity that evolved in the vibrant courts of medieval Europe. You find yourself amidst this historical unfolding, where the jester doesn't simply emerge as an amusing sideshow, but as an intrinsic part of the court's fabric. A curious blend of folly and insight. Onward you wander, through time and tradition, watching as these court jesters become more than jest machines. They emerge from a mixture of circumstances, a need for distraction, a pursuit of amusement, but most significantly, an opportunity to speak truth to power in a world where others dared not. The origins are traced back to ancient history jesters in Egyptian courts. Although the medieval version carries its own unique flair, jesters in the medieval courts acquire their role almost serendipitously. You can imagine the scene, a gathering of nobles faced with the grave weight of governance. In walks a curious figure, one whose antics deflate the tense atmosphere, yet subtly critiques with clever wordplay and observant jest. Over time, these individuals, often plucked from the streets or discovered in a rare moment of audacious jesting, become staples in royal circles. They perform a delicate tightrope act, offering mirth while acting as the canaries in the coal mines of medieval politics. In medieval society, where the gravity of hierarchy and the sanctity of respect ruled the day, jesters hold a curious exemption. They are the licensed fools, operating in their own realm, skillfully exploiting their liberties to provide commentary cloaked in comedy. It's a role afforded only to the cleverest minds, often underestimated due to their peculiar antics. The beauty of this role? It ensures their presence in courts, preserving their influence where most voices are silenced. Historians still argue whether the jesters wielded real influence or simply served as comic relief masquerading with the facade of power. However, there's little doubt that their presence contributed layers of depth to court life. They are the fault lines in medieval times, using comedy to reveal the true nature of those around them, including the rulers. Your passage through these tales of jest continues in courts large and small, from the bustling cities to remote keeps. Each location harbours its own jesters, and with them, unique takes on the role. Some are musically inclined, others accomplish physical comedy, and a few, the sharpest of minds, weave such verbal tapestries that they could sway the fates of kingdoms. Watching the jesters perform, you see them tapping into a craft honed over countless laughs and frowns. Their antics, those physically demanding acts like juggling, mimicking courtiers, or partaking in slapstick humour, unveil layers. More than games, they are acts of fine-tuned commentary, concealed by the guise of foolishness. They prod the pretences of nobility, revealing truths so often clouded by power and position. Despite this vibrant picture, not all jesters receive equal acclaim. The atmosphere is thick with competition, as jesters vie for approval, jockeying for the chance to deliver their performance and secure their place in the court's affections. It's a tournament of not just physical prowess, but of mental acumen, making it not just a clamour of bells and colourful garb, but a cerebral engagement with the more merriment-minded courtiers. The making of a jester is, therefore, an aleatory process, one of seizing opportunity in audacious acts of creativity. A successful jester navigates this pathway, skillfully turning humour into a shield and words into their sharpest weapon. You find yourself swept up in this unfolding saga, from the groundbreaking moment a clever quip resonates through the hall, to the profound silences that follow an unexpectedly poignant observation. Constant in all this is the jester's ability to thrive in ambiguity, to take on a role that continuously evolves within the walls of feudal castles. In your role as a reluctant observer, this world becomes familiar. The jester's life, birthed from a complicated symbiosis of court needs and personal craft, serves as both entertainment and an historical lens. Through jest and laughter, these figures illuminate the centre stage, where power and humour intertwine. It's a role as colourful as it is precarious, leaving you pondering the finer nuances of a career crafted in folly and foresight. Stepping deeper into the medieval tapestry, you find yourself fascinated by the vibrant colours and textures that denote the jester's identity. The jester's garb is a sight to behold, a visual feast that contributes as much to their storytelling as their words do. As you navigate this world, you are drawn to the unconventional and eye-kirking attire, a patchwork of meaning and mischief that transforms ordinary halls into kaleidoscopic stages. The jester's attire, known as motley, is not just clothing, it's a statement. Imagine stepping into a room wearing a cacophony of colours, greens, reds and yellows clashing and complementing with an energy that defies the muted tones of courtly fashion. Every hue and pattern serves a purpose, demanding attention and often reflecting the chaotic energy a jester brings to the court. It's as though the very fabric of their garments weaves them into the essence of their performance. These garments aren't just a visual spectacle, they carry layers of historical significance. Historians still argue whether the motley originated from practical necessity or a deliberate choice to set jesters apart, both physically and metaphorically, from others. Once they put on the motley, jesters step into their unique dual role, both entertainer and commentator. The iconic foolish hat completes the ensemble, its 3 points adorned with jingling bells that announce the jester's arrival, so you can almost hear the merry sound echoing as they make their entrances. This hat is not just a quirky accessory, but a symbol of the jester's license to disrupt the status quo with jest. Intertwined into the fabric of these garments are the tools of a jester's trade, physical manifestations of their bold defiance of courtly gravity. The intricate design of the motley provides more than just a surface-level spectacle. You can almost feel the textured layers, stitched not just for durability, but to enhance movement and support the physicality of their performance, whether through acrobatics or exaggerated gestures. The costume is crafted to sustain the wear and tear of countless routines, as well as the occasional need to quickly vacate in the face of an ill-received jest. Their attire also serves a strategic advantage, providing a visual distraction that allows their wit and humour to slip beneath the radar of unsuspecting nobles. The jester uses the vibrant hues like a matador uses a red cape, both to draw attention and redirect it deftly. Beneath this managed chaos lies a mind constantly assessing the room, adapting their approach to the whims of the audience and using their garishness as camouflage and misdirection. Interestingly, the custom of wearing motley has transcended centuries, finding echoes in various costume traditions today. Its cultural longevity sparks modern discourse, inviting reflection on the visual and psychological power of attire in performance arts. As you contemplate this, you notice that while fashions change, the utility of clothing in the art of storytelling remains. This flamboyant attire doesn't render the wearer invisible. Instead, it makes them larger than life, more than mere entertainers. In these garments, a jester carries the weight of expectations, and with it, a freedom to hover at the boundaries of propriety, a place where others dare not tread. Here in the motley, they craft a persona that captures the vital essence of humour in its many forms, enlightening the court while inhabiting clothing that declares, "I am here, and I am ready to be heard." In your imagined walk through these medieval courts, the jester's attire also becomes a silent gambit. Each performance is an opportunity, their motley transformed into an armour of influence, designed to distract from the deeper currents of political and courtly intrigue. These jesters are well aware that behind every laugh there is a potential consequence, and their garb remains their constant companion in this dangerous dance. The colours they wear set them apart, yet it also roots them deeply within the vibrant scheme of medieval life and culture, painting a portrait as vivid as the stories they tell. As you continue to weave through the lively world of medieval courts, guided by the colourful trail of the jester, it becomes increasingly clear that laughter, while treasured, is not always the best medicine for those inhabiting the cobblestone corridors of power. Here, where jesters tread lightly on a tightrope of humour and peril, you start to understand the precarious nature of their existence. Imagine this. You stand before a gathered court, every face turned your way, each eye expecting diversion or insight wrapped in humour. With each joke delivered, the room's laughter, or worse, its silence, becomes your immediate judge. For jesters, moments of silence indicate a misstep, a boundary dangerously crossed. In these hallowed halls, surrounded by faces flitting between laughter and irritation, A jester's joke can either elevate their standing or imperil their very safety. You begin to appreciate the delicate craft of humour in an environment where laughter serves as both a balm and a blade. Historic accounts tell us that jesters often held liberties other court members did not, yet this freedom came with strings attached. Imagine unwittingly upsetting a powerful lord. A jest interpreted not as a light-hearted quip but as an affront. It introduces a towering risk where stakes always run high. Jesters need to choose their words with the precision of a fencer's strike. In medieval courts, humour was the jester's most potent weapon and best defence. Wielding it effectively required reading the room like a seasoned actor, sensing when to turn slapstick into satire, when to step forward or retreat. The court jester, you realise, is an informal diplomat, dodging personal peril with charm while providing essential commentary through wit, a blend that teeters constantly on the precipice of what is socially permissible. Historians argue about the degree to which jesters wielded their humour to deliver unpalatable truths. Were they mere clowns, or were they, cleverly veiled by mirth, actually risk-takers in a swordless duel of discourse? This open scholarly debate paints their role in layers of public tension and personal bravery. At their best, they could diffuse tense situations, using humour to shine a light on inconvenient truths in ways that might spare a court from disaster. However, being a jester involved navigating an uncertain terrain. Joyful reactions were not always the default response. In cases where humour hit too close to home, the repercussions could be swift and severe. Many jesters walked a dangerous line, constantly searching for the balance between laughter and offence, a task you might not envy as you watch from the sidelines. A memorable account, often shared, involves a jester making a jest at the expense of the monarch. The jester was promptly scowled at and removed from court, offering a sobering reminder that even those allowed liberties had their limits. It's not unlike walking a high wire, where missteps come with consequences more complex than a mere fall. In the world of jesters, humour was a fluctuating currency, with its value never static. What one audience found delightful, another might find distasteful. The true skill lay in knowing that no two performances were ever the same, that adaptability was as critical as wit. Jesters, therefore, were the master improvisers, always on guard, using laughter not just as entertainment, but as a mechanism for survival itself. Imagine living with the knowledge that every performance is a test, not only of skill, but of your ability to gauge the court's political and social mores. Laughter could open doors or close them forever. As you stand in this world of court jesters, you might find yourself marvelling at their audacity and agility, their ability to produce laughter in an environment often devoid of joy. Their survival depended on finding the pulse of the room, empathizing with their audience, and engaging with a humour that could charm, entertain, and, when necessary, teach those who ruled. As you delve deeper into the fabric of medieval court life, it becomes increasingly apparent that a jester carried a toolkit of talents far exceeding mere juggling or slapstick. You soon discover that behind every jest, every exaggerated fall, lay an entire arsenal of skills, each indispensable to the jester's survival and success. The medieval jester was much more than a simple entertainer. Picture yourself as a jester standing in the grand hall, your audience before you, the esteemed nobility and their retinues, expecting you not only to delight them but to surprise them in ways they hadn't imagined. It is here you realise that juggling balls or clubs is merely the surface of a much deeper well of talent. Beneath it lies a world bursting with music, acrobatics, mimicry and satire, a range of proficiencies as diverse as the motley you wear. Music and song are potent instruments in the jester's repertoire. Imagine strumming a lute, each chord carefully chosen to complement your lyrics. A song that starts jovially, only to transform into a clever commentary on the latest courtly happenings. Your ability to take current events and spin them into melodious tales would have drawn both laughter and contemplation, raising eyebrows without raising ire. Yet the jester's art is not confined to music alone. Acrobatic feats, flips, dance, and perfectly timed physical humour could turn a fitting jest into a riveting performance, one where humour transcended words. Such displays are a testament to physical prowess, prompting wonder at the jester's athleticism. What appears effortless requires precision and phenomenal timing, entertaining the court with movement that, naturally, guides their laughter. In the ever-volatile world of medieval politics, mimicry becomes a pointed tool, allowing the jester to become a chameleon of sorts, transfiguring into exaggerated versions of courtiers or even royalty, all without uttering a single word. Think of it as ancient improv, where laughter coaxes out subtleties that might otherwise be overlooked. Here, in these moments of unfiltered humour, jesters brought the powerful down to common ground, inviting a camaraderie that crossed class lines. Satire, perhaps the sharpest arrow in the jester's quiver, is a craft well scoped by these performers. Well-delivered satire encompasses more than just humour. It conveys ideas and critiques that could influence those watching. Of course, the jester knows limits, expertly towing the line between what's humorous and what's controversial. Historians still engage in passionate debates about the extent of a jester's influence. Were they merely jesters, or were they once covert heralds of perspectives unspoken elsewhere? The jester's skill set underscores a layer of intellectual cunning, often unrecognised by those not directly privy to court life. The necessity of adapting performances to distinct audiences meant every jester possessed a nuanced understanding of human psychology, not unlike the nuances a modern comedian navigates when tailoring their set to particular crowds. So too did the jester use wit as their compass, improvising and innovating endlessly. Far from being singular distractions, jesters hold up their comedic mirrors to society, crafting performances as memorable as they are multifaceted. The jester's mastery over myriad skills made them indispensable allies and covert influences, threading sly commentary into compelling recitals. As you wander through these medieval halls, following the echoes of laughter and the rhythmic beat of performance, you start to witness firsthand how these jesters used their talents, like seasoned politicians fluctuating between being entertainers, commentators, and thinkers. In a medieval world where words hold power, the jester's playful acts are serious business, presenting narratives that question hierarchies while always pretending to offer nothing more than ephemeral amusement. Aren't jesters so much more than what they seem? More than just wandering entertainers, they encapsulate the full spectrum of human creativity, a fusion of art, agility, and intellect, surpassing the identities penned for them by history, where every song and joke, every feat of agility, serves to underscore the dynamic tapestry they weave. You, caught up in their world, find yourself realizing that the jester's true gift is their ability to show us ourselves, wrapped in laughter and layered in complexity. As you continue to traverse the bustling corridors of medieval courts, it becomes ever clearer that life as a jester was not merely about amusing the king and his retinue. No, it was also about deftly maneuvering through a labyrinth of court intrigue, where every smile might mask an ulterior motive and every feigned laugh could signify an alliance or a subtle threat. Picture yourself as a jester, awash in this world of whispered conversations and secretive glances. Court intrigue is the ever-present backdrop against which your performances unfold. In this intricate social web, the stakes are high, and every jest may trigger unforeseen consequences. You aren't just performing for entertainment, but often as a pawn or even a subtle player in the grander games of courtly politics. Now, as you stand on this metaphorical stage, your task is to entertain and engage. Yet beyond the laughter lies a truth more unsettling. Within these very walls, allies and adversaries are often indistinguishable. Here, the jester's role expands from the entertainer to something more akin to a vital, if not precarious, go-between or messenger. Aware of the subtle shifts in power dynamics, you can imagine the court filled with a tapestry of individuals, each one more aware than the next of the hierarchical roles they play. The nobles gather, orchestrating schemes whose complexities stretch far beyond casual observation. Within this tension, the jester walks a thin line, performing with the audience's tastes in mind, all the while listening, watching, and discerning, perhaps even more keenly than those who consider themselves key players. In this quicksand of alliances and vendettas, a misplaced joke could provide either a vector for favour or a cause for immediate expulsion. How does one navigate this constant tension? With humour sharp enough to tease but not wound, by being light on your feet, and crucially by understanding the unspoken rules of the court. Imagine the skill it takes to turn a slight indiscretion into a moment where all parties leave with egos unbruised, if not outright inflated. The jester's unmatched ability to toe these lines is not merely for entertainment. It's about survival as much as it is about laughter. Yet there is a peculiar duality here. While jesters are employed to entertain, they are also unwittingly embroiled in the court's daily drama. The court's power struggles become their battlegrounds, and their performances a series of gambits and commentary upon these dynamics. This way, jesters are more than just sideline performers. They are unwitting actors in the play of court politics. Despite their lowly status, the unusual position of jesters at court meant they carried a unique informality, an ability to engage where others could not. By making sly commentary under the guise of comedy, a jester could diffuse tension that advisors might struggle to manage. These antics could, on rare occasions, sway opinions, provide cover for alliances, or call attention to issues demanding address. Historians continue to debate whether jesters acted as mere distractions during major court decisions, or wielded some degree of influence upon their outcomes. It may well depend on the individual court, and ruler a jester clever enough to be both entertaining and insightful might, under some circumstances, alter the course of events. Walking through these halls with jesters as your companion scribes an indelible mark upon your perception of history. You begin to see jesters not just as outlandishly dressed performers, but as keen observers who, through cunning, humour, and a well-timed jest, skillfully navigated a world where humour and survival converged. In the grandest halls of nobility, where each jest could serve as both a friend and foe, jesters become more than their attire. Their humour a foil rather than folly. Their survival depended on their ability to jest through the tightrope of courtly life, appealing to the lighter side of nobility, while expertly reading the intricate tapestry of whispers that wove through the court's corridors. Ironically, though their role was to bring levity, the seriousness of their position kept them always at the edge of court intrigue, where even the shadow of a smile might change fortunes. In the nuanced world of medieval courts, there lies an unexpected role for the court jester, one that transcends mere entertainment. As you journey further through these hallowed halls, it becomes evident that jesters sometimes served not just as mirth-makers, but as invaluable counselors to those in power. Despite the seeming absurdity of the scenario, beneath the motley and jester's cap lay a mind both observant and potentially influential, able to navigate the delicate balance between comedy and counsel. Imagine this scene. The king, weary from a day filled with the complexities of medieval governance, calls upon his jester. The court has dispersed, leaving the jester and the sovereign alone, an unusual intimacy that offers an unexpected moment of candour. Here, laughter is not what's immediately sought. Instead, the jest offered serves as a conduit for truth-telling, disguising critiques as humour and embedding opinions within the fabric of irreverent anecdotes. This unique advisory function derives from the jester's position as both an insider and outsider in the court. They observe human behaviour daily, understanding the motivations and the caprices of the nobles they entertain. This vantage point affords jesters the rare opportunity to advise on matters of state, their insights piercing through the noble veneer, unclouded by the obsequiousness that surrounds other courtiers. The jester's capacity for satire and humour allowed them to voice opinions and suggestions that few others could, especially when such opinions tread into politically sensitive terrains. Historians still discuss whether these jest-laden advisories ever tangibly influenced royal decisions, or whether they simply offered the illusion of counsel. However, notable jesters in history, such as Will Somers of King Henry VIII's court, were known to have advised their monarchs on more than just merriment, blending cheek with counsel. In the dimly lit chambers, a jester could say what others could not. With a light-hearted quip, they might indirectly point to a weakness in strategy or highlight the hubris of a particular noble. These jesters do not wield power in the traditional sense, but wield influence, a version of power that is more risque, yet heavy with potential impact. Imagine a jester using a tale or rhyme to address a pressing issue indirectly, bringing to light concerns about policies or highlighting incompetent advisories without the sting of outright confrontation. Notably, the king or queen who engaged in such repartee needed to receive it with trademark geniality, discerning the layers beneath each jest. A requirement that meant a successful jester-counsellor had to thoroughly understand those they served. It's not much different from today's political satire or comedic monologues, where humour veils biting critique, making the digestible palatable and the hidden overt. This relationship wasn't one-sided. Monarchs, aware of their jesters' role and skills, could use their jesters as informal sounding boards. Where councils carried formality and repercussions, the jester's input strode through the back door, wielding candor and creating an environment where fears could be addressed with less constraint. Indeed, the wise rulers among them might find solace in the jester's ability to express the unspoken fears of the population, giving the sovereign a glimpse into the undercurrents of public sentiment. Playing both fool and advisor, the art of jester counselor pivoted not simply on delivery, but on territorial familiarity, understanding when to jest and when to speak candidly. Take, for example, the use of humor during tense moments of decision. Deftly used, it could lighten the atmosphere, momentarily relieving the pressures of command, encouraging decisions made in tranquility rather than turmoil. As you immerse in this world where jests reflect more than mere mockery, you start to see jesters as agile communicators, distilling complex ideas into something the court could digest, and making monarchs reflect deeper on their decisions. Within the court's shadows, away from the grand performances, the insightful jester becomes a crucial, albeit unlikely confessor, crafting counsel from chaos, their humor harnessing unconstrained communication that carried with it whispers of wit, windows into wisdom draped humorously in motley. As you continue your exploration of the medieval courts and the curious role that jesters played, you begin to unravel the intellectual underpinnings that accompany the vibrant chaos of their performances. Beneath their seemingly whimsical exterior, jesters often possessed a sharp intelligence that made them keen observers and subtle influencers within the court. Picture yourself standing in the grand hall, watching as a jester performs. The clinking of goblets and the soft hum of noble discussions form the backdrop as the jester begins to spin a tale. At first glance, their words appear to be nothing more than frivolity, filled with exaggerated gestures and comedic flair. However, upon deeper listening, you realize that each joke, every pun, is carefully crafted. Behind every jest is a cleverly disguised commentary, a social critique wrapped in humor that prompts both laughter and reflection. For the jester, humor is not only a means of entertainment, but also a tool for social observation. Imagine them listening to the conversations of the court, the political debates and personal squabbles, and weaving these elements into their performances. Through their acts, they hold up a mirror to society, reflecting the court's dynamics back to itself in a way that allows everyone present to laugh and, perhaps, to ponder. In this regard, jesters were akin to philosophers in their own right, employing humor as a medium to question and challenge the status quo. With a pointed barb disguised as a joke, they might draw attention to inequalities or hypocrisy, encouraging nobles to consider perspectives outside the narrow confines of courtly life. Within these layered jests lies an intellectual richness, where the court laughed not just at the jest, but at the truths hidden within. There is an ongoing debate among historians about how deliberate this intellectual engagement was, and how much it was simply a byproduct of their role as entertainers. Did jesters consciously use their wit to influence and educate? Or was their capacity for insight simply a serendipitous consequence of their need to outwit the court through humor? Regardless, the complex interplay between jest and insight remains a captivating topic of historical inquiry. Consider the jester who might weave complex political situations into seemingly simple routines, where a pratfall or a misplaced prop becomes a metaphor for a mishap in governance. Or perhaps a jester employs mimicry to playfully critique the mannerisms of a powerful noble, subtly encouraging self-awareness among the elite. In these moments, jesters deftly step between foolishness and sagacity, playing the fool while imparting wisdom. Keener, more sophisticated humor often found appreciation in courts that valued wit and intellect. You might imagine how, though not educated formally like scholars or clerics, jesters developed their own libraries of knowledge through experience and observation. A successful jest required not just wit, but also an understanding of the delicate intra-court ecosystem, a social intelligence that was as profound as it was unassuming. Furthermore, the liberties jesters had in courts allowed them to present ideas and criticisms in a palatable form, one more readily received than the often dry proclamations of advisers. With a harmless jest, they breached social taboos, addressing topics that might otherwise be considered indiscreet or insubordinate, particularly in a rigid feudal hierarchy. These jesters were more than entertainers. They were unacknowledged educators, operating under the guise of frivolity. They stitched humor with wisdom so seamlessly that their insights often went unnoticed until the laughter faded, leaving courtiers contemplating in their wake. In such performances, the jester's brilliance lies not just in the laughter incited, but in the thoughts provoked amidst the mirth. You find that these jesters, through a unique blend of comedy and critique, occupy a distinct place in the annals of history, one not easily dismissed as trivial. Their humour serves as a reminder that, sometimes, the subtle art of wit holds power to change perspectives, moving through courts like a breeze of common sense, lightly scented with absurdity, shifting the air of medieval reality to something a bit more enlightened, if even for a moment. As you continue to unravel the layers of medieval courts, the enigmatic role of the jester sparks an intriguing debate that stretches through the corridors of historical scholarship. You find yourself drawn into the heart of this discussion, where historians attempt to piece together the puzzle of the jester's true influence. Was the jester merely a courtly ornament? A tolerated diversion amidst the weight of regal affairs? Or did they wield a more subtle, possibly powerful sway over the matters of the court? In the dimly lit chambers of academia, heated debates persist. One camp suggests the jester played no more than a superficial role, serving up amusement and acting as a release valve for the tensions that accompanied medieval politics. This perspective sees jesters as nothing more than entertainers who momentarily broke the monotony of courtly life, with little influence on the serious machinations of power. Yet, as you wander further into this debate, another view emerges, one that posits that jesters were far more than purveyors of mirth. This perspective holds that jesters, through their privileged access to the corridors of power and their unique ability to blend humour with truth, actually wielded a subtle form of influence. This influence was not through direct participation in governance, but by nudging perspectives, shaping opinions, and occasionally affecting decisions through carefully crafted jests. Picture the scene in a grand candle-lit hall where the jester performs, laughter resonating around the walls. It's possible that in this moment of joviality, beneath the surface of jest and guffaw, lies a message that astute members of the court might discern. Could the jester's mockery of a recent decision prompt the courtiers to reconsider their strategies? Could a well-placed impersonation offer the king a different view of a trusted advisor's recently suggested policy? Historians argue about the subtlety of this sway. Some suggest that even though jesters could not command armies or draft laws, they held the power to comment on these decisions in a way that others could not. This ability to bypass social hierarchies and address power through humour gave them a role unlike any other in the medieval court. While their words carried no formal weight in decision-making processes, they nonetheless had the unique opportunity to ignite contemplation and reflection within the ruling elite. Consider a jester's tale that ambiguously mirrors the current conundrums of the court, its layers peeled back to reveal parallels to ongoing political situations. Those listening might engage with the narrative humorously, yet subconsciously digest its implicit advice or critique. It's a dance as delicate as it is impactful, allowing jesters to comment on power dynamics without direct confrontation. While the jester's work might largely remain undocumented beyond the chronicles of laughter, their role suggests a history of nuanced negotiation, a realm where humour formed a veil allowing them to speak truths otherwise unspoken. This is the heart of the scholarly debate. How much did jesters influence, and were their jests with consequence or mere fluffery? In the end, perhaps the value of jesters lies in the duality of their position, a strange but valuable juxtaposition of a humble entertainer and keen observer capable of shifting the court's atmosphere. Whether they truly shaped events or simply softened the edges of courtly life, their legacy as enigmatic figures endures, a testament to the power of a well-timed laugh, words woven with wit, capable of piercing the veils of propriety. Amidst this debate, one thing is clear. Jesters, like the motley they wore, cannot be confined to a single role or description. They embodied contradictions, challenging us to think about how and if humour shapes society, or if there's truth in jest to be uncovered, one echoed through corridors lined with intrigue and laughter. This ongoing mystery leaves us pondering the jester's place in history, ever questioning their unseen impact behind the curtain of comedy. As you delve deeper into the rhythmic flow of medieval court life, you begin to wonder about the daily realities behind a jester's laughter-filled facade. Much like any profession, being a court jester involved a routine, though predictably unpredictable, shaped around the whims and moods of their noble patrons. Let's shadow a jester through a typical day, if there ever was such a concept amidst the chaos, and uncover the blend of preparation, performance, and perils inherent in the role. With dawn breaking over the castle battlements, the day starts early, much like any other courtiers. As a jester, your wardrobe is both a canvas and a costume. You slip into your motley, a vibrant clash of colours and patterns whose cacophony echoes the bustling spirit of your craft. A typical morning in your chamber is filled with the ritualistic sounds of tinkling bells, as you meticulously check each tassel, each patch of fabric, ensuring that your attire looks the fool, even as your mind remains sharp and focused. Outside, the courtyard awakens, the dawn light catching the tops of spears and glinting off armour. Stable hands busy themselves, and the fragrant promise of baking bread fills the air, a sensory companion to the expectancy of the day's events. Despite the clamour enveloping the castle grounds, you find a moment of quietude, weaving through throngs of bustling servants and guards to drink in the early morning calm. A jester's first task of the day might be small performances, warming up for the elaborate displays to come. You engage in light banter with the lesser nobles, jesting not to entertain per se, but to observe, to test the water of court dynamics as each jest softly nudges the boundaries of propriety. This early exchange serves both to prepare you for bigger audiences and to keep abreast of the ever-shifting tides of court allegiances and rivalries. Post-breakfast, the day's central events begin to unfold, whether it's a royal decree or a feast welcoming visiting dignitaries. Here, your role is both to distract and to entertain, a unique balancing act requiring agility, wit, and an affinity for the spontaneous. You'll dance between acts, juggling, performing acrobatics, and layering your host's titles with affectionate mimicry, each act carefully calibrated to titillate without crossing the king's inscrutable line. As the day wends on, so too does your performance evolve. The latter part of the day often provides the most memorable opportunities for jesters. Picture the mid-afternoon sun streaming through stained glass windows, painting the stone walls with rainbows. Within, the court is at its busiest, and the audiences at their most receptive, the joviality facilitated by kind winds and flowing wine. Here, in the heart of the jester's day, lie both opportunity and peril. Successfully reading the mood leads to high spirits, appreciation, and the truest coin any performer can earn, laughter. Yet the stakes are steep. A misjudged jest might sour the mood, drawing ire rather than acclaim. A lesson painfully and sometimes perilously learned. But the challenge of dynamically adapting material, of reading and reacting to audience cues, forms an integral, adrenaline-fueled part of your daily existence. As dusk approaches, there's a winding down, a languorous sense of tired relief, where your role becomes less formal. You might find yourself amidst smaller gatherings, engaging in quieter banter, offering comedic solace after the day's politics, helping soften court tensions before night's rest. Returning to your chamber, there might be time for reflection, where you mentally sift through the day's encounters, cataloguing scenes, laughs, and lessons learned for future performances. As your motley is folded away, the echoes of bells still ring faintly in your ears, a reminder of a successful day, though very little is certain for tomorrow. To those outside the castle, you wonder if these routines ever surface in imaginings or stories. To them, you remain the theatrical fool, yet within the towering walls of the castle, your existence is far richer and more complex. A symbiosis of humour, humanity, and the hidden depths of court life, making each day unique. Thus, as the stars twinkle into view over the medieval skyline, your role as a jester is both vital and vulnerable, a seemingly never-ending loop of days and nights, where the boundary between folly and wisdom dances as fluidly as your own jester's step. And as you pull the threads of the day together just before sleep, you realize how each jest is more than an act. It's a piece of living history, captured within the laughter and whispers of eternity. Your continued exploration into the life of a medieval jester leads you to a fascinating question. How does one actually become a jester? It's a journey that doesn't follow the traditional path of apprenticeship seen in other medieval professions like blacksmithing or tailoring. Instead, it's a story of talent, timing, and the serendipitous alignment of opportunity and skill. Imagine yourself in the bustling streets of a medieval town, where performers vie for attention in markets, each hoping to capture the eye of a noble. Here, in these vibrant and earthy public spaces, the seeds of a jester's career often germinate. For many jesters, their journey begins without fanfare, marked by spontaneous street performances that display a knack for humour, mimicry, and acrobatics. Among the street vendors and spectators, it is here that burgeoning talent often gains its first audience. In this organic atmosphere, you might find a young performer, perhaps an orphaned child or an outcast, juggling in a marketplace or dancing in a village square. Their improvised laughter may float above the clamour of mundane commerce, their antics catching the attention of a passer-by, possibly one connected to the inner workings of a nearby court. It is through these impromptu displays of creativity and wit that a path to becoming a court jester can begin. Unlike most medieval professions, there is no formal pathway to becoming a jester. No guild dictates its apprenticeships. No specific lineage demands continuation. Instead, the jester's art springs from a mix of innate talent and raw insight, combined with the rare chance to perform before the right pair of eyes. The life of a jester is defined by preparedness meeting opportunity, where talent in performance or wit finds its way to the elevated stages of court. Connections often play a pivotal role. A fateful introduction to a lord or lady who possesses both the taste and the means to nurture burgeoning talent might serve as an informal apprenticeship. Imagine a noble pleased by the coincidental encounter with a street performer, deciding to bring them into the court for the amusement and curiosity of the nobility. Here, this unpolished artichoke's backlooks before courtiers, gradually learning and refining their craft through performance. Once within the court, the learning curve steepens. The nascent jester is now exposed to an audience which requires vantage insight and has high expectations. It becomes a period of intense learning, where the stakes rise with every misstep, and where every successful jest draws you deeper into courtly life. It's a baptism by jest, where mistakes are often public and even perilous, but successes bring accolades that could turn an uninitiated performer into the court's beloved fool. The transition from street performer to court jester is underlined by a unique linguistic agility, cleverness in commentary, and the ability to read a crowd, all of which become second nature only through continuous practice, risk-taking, and adaptation. The court jester emerges, a product of refined chaos, familiarity with courtly subtexts, and the wisdom attained from walking the tightrope of humour every day. Historians may debate the specifics of a jester's apprenticeship, questioning whether the journey was as fortunate as it was crafted by individual genius. Nevertheless, the jester's elevation to court signals not just a change in attire, but also a shift in responsibilities. As a performer, now intricately woven into the web of dynamics you once observed from the outside, you serve roles that transcend simple jest, stepping into the nuanced realm of satire, commentary, and occasionally even advice. In this unpredictable ascent, from cobblestones to castle floors, the jester transforms raw potential into a force of whimsy and insight within the noble circles. It's a path studded with both humbling stumbles and unforeseen triumphs, all woven into the legacy of the fool, who shapes their own education in the heart of medieval society. Their art a perpetual apprenticeship of the mind and heart. Ultimately, as laughter redounds through the courts or echoes across the cobbles, you find yourself contemplating how in this world of lords and ladies, of knights and clergy, it is the fool's unpredictable journey that often tells the most human of tales. It is a tale you follow, entranced by the way such unlikely paths lead to places of prominence, even dressed in the mischief of motley. As you journey further into the realm of jesters, you come across stories of those among their ranks who rose to legendary status. These renowned jesters, woven into the annals of history, left indelible marks on the courts they served and the culture they inhabited. Their names echo in the laughter and lessons of ages past, serving as a testament to the power of wit and the human spirit facing formidable odds. Imagine yourself stepping into the lively court of King Henry VIII, where one such jester, Will Somers, delights the court. Known for his sharp wit and keen insights, Somers becomes a favourite of the king, navigating the volatile tides of Henry's reign with uncanny acumen. It is said that Somers could mollify even Henry VIII's infamous tempestuousness, using humour and honesty in equal measure to curry favour and counsel. His role ranged from light-hearted mirth-maker to informal advisor, often daring to voice truths that no other courtier would dare whisper. Amidst the tapestries and grandeur of the court, you hear stories of how Somers maintained his position through successive royal regimes, a testament to not only his comedic talent, but also his shrewd understanding of the court's intricate dynamics. His rapport with the king provides a shield from the tumult of Tudor politics, a remarkable feat in an era marked by political intrigue and kingly whims. Yet Somers never abused his proximity to power, striking a balance that kept him both beloved and respected, a figure of intrigue whose legend endures. Your journey then takes you across the Channel to France, where Triboulet, another famed jester, captivated and infuriated in equal measure. Serving Kings Louis X and François I, Triboulet became renowned not only for his sharp humour, but also for his audacious antics. Triboulet's life is filled with stories ranging from slapstick comedy to biting satire, capable of casting light on the follies of the court through ingenious wit. Triboulet's reputation as a jester was so prominent that even his most biting remarks were tolerated, to a point. Legend has it that when he crossed into truly dangerous territory by offending the king, he was granted leave to choose the manner of his execution, a jest of a grim sort. Demonstrating his incomparable wit, Triboulet responded by choosing death from old age, a response that reportedly broke the court into laughter and earned his freedom once more. These jesters, in their own time, occupied an interesting paradox. While their role demanded a command of humour and performance, they existed on the fringes of court certainty, relying on dexterity and nerve to navigate the hazardous arena of monarchical caprice. Historians still marvel at how these jesters wielded their unique positions, questioning whether their skill in satire and comedy was honed by natural prowess or crafted from necessity and cunning. The tales of these notable jesters continue to captivate, underscoring the notion that humour and truth are timeless companions. Through their performances, these jesters projected reflections of society, daring to voice uncomfortable truths wrapped in levity, each jest a bridge between the court and the common psyche. Their legacy transcends the ephemeral nature of performance art, lingering in the cultural consciousness as embodiments of wisdom camouflaged in tomfoolery. Recognizing the influence of these jesters highlights the duality of their existence. Though jesters were marginalized figures in the quasi-feudal hierarchy, their influence extended throughout the court and beyond. Through laughter, they forged connections across class divides, making them among the more indispensable figures in the tapestry of medieval life. Despite their lack of any traditional clout, as you close the book on these legendary figures, you reflect on their extraordinary ability to transform kings and courtiers into audiences, even if only momentarily. With their nimble wit and dynamic performances, jesters like Somers and Triboulet ensure that humour transcends time. Their tales an enduring testament to the resilience and power of the human spirit grappling with the whims of fate and fortune. As you continue to explore the colourful world of jesters, you soon discover that the tradition of humorists and court entertainers is not confined to European courts alone. The phenomenon spans cultures and continents, each with its own twist on the archetype of the jester. By comparing these diverse figures, you gain a deeper understanding of how humour serves as a universal language, interwoven into the fabric of societies around the globe. Travel with me to the sunny expanses of Spain, where the tradition of the Buffon takes centre stage. Unlike the jesters of northern European courts, Buffons were known for their ability to blend drama, music, and satire. They often wore elaborate costumes similar to those of traditional jesters but infused their acts with a distinct Spanish flair, often incorporating local customs and references that resonated with their audiences. These entertainers were known to mock societal norms and challenge authority with wit, crafting performances that cleverly critiqued the intricacies of Spanish power dynamics. From the warmth of Spain, you move to the vibrant courts of India, where the Vidusaka, a traditional comedic character in Indian theatre, performed a role similar to that of a jester. The Vidusaka was an integral part of Sanskrit drama, embodying humour laced with critical commentary. Often depicted as a lovable rogue with a penchant for mischief, the Vidusaka would use humour to offer profound insights into human nature and the workings of society. Here, humour has a philosophical undertone, intertwining with narratives that explore deeper truths about life and morality. Crossing the oceans, you land in the heart of the native North American communities, where the figure of the Koshare, a member of the Pueblo people's clown society, is celebrated. The Koshare served as both entertainer and educator, using humour to address social and moral issues within the community. Their performances included pantomime, storytelling, and a form of physical humour designed to convey lessons. While they brought laughter, they also acted as social mediators, drawing attention to behaviours and practices that might require change or introspection. Each cultural variation of the jester reflects the unique societal structures and values of its environment, yet they all share common DNA, utilising humour as a mechanism for reflection and conversation. The jester not only entertains but also provokes thought, serving as both a mirror and a critique of the world in which they perform. These traditions remind us that regardless of cultural differences, the human experience with humour serves as a bridge across languages and borders. Historians still debate what these jesters represent in terms of cultural significance. Were they indispensable educators, providing a voice to the unspoken thoughts of a society, or mere performers who happened upon the stage of history? This open question persists, stimulating ongoing research into the broader human compulsion to laugh and reflect. While immersing yourself in these varied traditions, you begin to appreciate the universal role of the jester as not just a fool but a thinker challenging the status quo. Whether they wore motleys, draped themselves in silks, or donned simple regalia, the heart of a jester beats with creativity and resistance, a synthesis of wisdom, folly, and education. Moreover, the presence of jesters across cultures offers more than mere comedic value. They transmitted stories, bridged divides, and provided communities with a necessary outlet for tension. Amidst the differing languages, costumes, and traditions, the jester's influence illustrates the power of humour to reflect and affect change, showcasing how the dynamics of laughter and enlightenment are intertwined. As you conclude your journey through the cultural landscape of jesters, you carry with you the reminder of how humour transcends borders, echoing through the halls of time as a timeless companion to humanity. It's a testament to the potency of laughter across civilizations, wherever jesters roamed. They left imprints of comedy and contemplation etched into history, lighting our understanding of humanity's pursuit of joy and wisdom in equal measure. As you further immerse yourself in the vibrant world of medieval courts, it becomes increasingly clear that life as a jester wasn't all jest and joviality. Instead, it was often fraught with danger, entwined with the precarious politics that shaped the world they entertained. Here, amid the chivalric romance and courtly glamour, jesters navigated perilous games that could as easily spell their doom as secure their favour. Imagine yourself in the bustling halls of a majestic court, vibrant with the colours and sounds of medieval life. The flicker of torchlights reflects off tapestries depicting grand hunts and battles. Nobles and royals gather, their laughter occasionally masking the whispers of intrigue that thread through the assembly. As a jester in this paradoxically lively yet treacherous environment, you operate without the conventional armours of defence. Your sword is your tongue, sharp and ever at risk of cutting too deeply into sensitive subjects. In these grand settings, the dangerous tightrope breaks conceal mighty pitfalls. Jesters are expected to entertain the courtly elite, whose status often shields them from rebuke or ridicule. Yet, the jester fulfills a vital function by doing precisely that, ridiculing or critiquing, even if subtly encased in comedy. This balancing act requires you to possess an acute sense of timing and discernment, knowing when a jest crosses from harmless fun into provocative territory. Consider the danger of jesters performing at state functions or diplomatic events, where every word and gesture is weighed with potential splendid triumph or calamitous error. For instance, teasing a visiting noble could sweeten alliances, but a miscalculated jest could sour relations, triggering diplomatic faux pas with far-reaching consequences. It is a precarious terrain, akin to a battlefield where every move must be calculated, lest the laughter of today transforms into tomorrow's banishment or worse. Historians debate whether jesters were ever so bold as to directly challenge their monarchs, or if they skillfully wove their critiques into performances seasoned with just enough precaution to skirt trouble. The line between cheeky jest and outright defiance was perilously thin. Nonetheless, stories abound of jesters who came close to this line, where their boisterous antics brushed against the veils of power, leaving marks both comic and cautionary. These tales of courtly life reveal how danger lurked not just in the form of political missteps, but also in the cunning schemes of rival courtiers. Jesters, often privy to whispers and accordingly considered confidants, might inadvertently step into plots layered with deceit and ambition. Their access to inner sanctums and close connection to the ruler positioned them as both assets and liabilities, forces to be sought after and suspected in turn. Amidst this churning sea, jesters employed their skills to maneuver the turbulence, using humour to disarm rather than displease. Their performances could be cathartic for courts burdened with the pressures of leadership, thereby securing their place in this unpredictable familial sphere, where tensions ran high. Clown and counsellor, their antics offered a release valve in stressful times, bridging the gap between sovereign and subject with laughter. To aspire to this role was to embrace an inherently risky occupation where one's position teetered on the axis of fleeting favour. Each jest, each act of comedy, each satirical remark was a gamble, a play of cards in the ongoing, unpredictable game of courtly life. The jester's world, alive with colour and laughter, was also tinged with risk, a testament to the sophisticated interplay of humour and danger that defined courtly entertainment. Navigating this world challenges the adept jester to remain agile and adaptable, tailoring their performance to the nuances of each occasion. It is through this reading of the room, this mastery of jocular diplomacy, that jesters would continue to stand the test of time. As you reflect on the tightrope upon which jesters danced, the dichotomy of danger and delight ceaselessly intertwined, you gain an appreciation of the audacity required to hold court amidst the complexities of medieval life. Truly, in this world of jests and jeopardy, jesters wove their own brand of magic, creating moments where laughter transcended survival and transformed into an exhilarating dance with power itself. In this ever-evolving tapestry of medieval court life, not everything was shadowed by peril for the jesters. Amid the delicate dance between laughter and intrigue, there were also moments of resplendent triumph and unmitigated joy. It is these very highs that sustain the jester, painting the drudgery and danger of court life in brilliant hues of satisfaction and accomplishment. Imagine the crackle of anticipation in a grand hall, nobles decked in their finest silks and jewels, as you prepare to perform. Your heartbeat sinks with the rhythmic clinking of goblets, the weight of expectation, matched only by the elation awaiting just beyond the edge of their smiles. For a jester, the creation of laughter and release, the sound of genuine amusement rippling through the gathered assembly, is its own reward. A symphony composed of chuckles, guffaws, and gasps that acknowledges both your skill and ingenuity. Triumphant moments often come in the form of performances that exceed mere amusement. As part of the court's own constellation, you effortlessly weave personal charisma and creativity into your routines. Picture the glow lighting your soul as your mimicry earns a rare laugh from the stoic noble, or your clever wordplay softens the stern visage of a visiting dignitary, subtly easing tension and sealing unspoken bonds. For you, the avenue that such successes open isn't just a broader favour, but the cherished personal connections cultivated through humour. In many courts, jesters found themselves embedded deeply in the fabric of their patrons' lives, often standing apart from the political machinations with an air of trusted innocence, thereby securing relationships undreamt of by those around them. Removed slightly from lineage or allegiance, the jester becomes a confidant in companionship, their performances building bridges where traditional diplomacy falters. The peak of a jester's role is their ability to embody the spirit of celebration, transforming routine court life into joyous revelry. Feasts transformed by your presence acquire a vibrancy, entertainment lifted into the realm of elite spectacle, unifying the court in shared merriment. Every jest elegantly delivered, each acrobatic flip well received, becomes a brick in the edifice of your standing, a lodestone of indelible memories. These uplifting experiences provide the counterbalance to the every edge-of-the-seat tension, reminding you that while a jester's life may not be easy, it is richly rewarding in its promises of camaraderie and shared mirth. The bonds formed through humour become powerful connectors, lending them a resilience against the undercurrents of envy or rivalry that may flow within the court. Historians debate the impact of jesters in diffusing tension or assisting in gleaming tranquility within a ruler's regime. Some narratives propose that laughter acted as a salve for the turbulent waters of medieval politics, an antidote for solemnity, ultimately stitching the community together against the backdrop of power struggles and emotional transparency. The pursuit of the highs, the applause, the laughter, the recognition, makes the struggles worthwhile, sustaining the jester through the challenges of their complex roles. They embody a duality of entertainer and sage, balancing levity with wisdom, their success measured not merely in deeds, but by the hearts lightened in their presence. These cherished interactions resonate beyond the echo of jest, transcending the drama of the feudal backdrop. A jester, in their best moments, becomes synonymous with the felicity they bring, embedding themselves into the very soul of the court with enthusiasm as unyielding as the spirit of celebration they incite. As you reflect upon these highs within the jester's journey, you witness the layered blessings and burdens that accompany their fool's cap. Through trials and triumphs, they reveal themselves as master craftsmen of their own tapestry, threading each day with colour, courage, and the promise of laughter. a lasting dance upon the stage of time, as pivotal today as in times long past, where victories are shared amid the mirth of the present, shared with us all. While the jester's life could indeed be buoyed by moments of triumph and joy, it's crucial to acknowledge that this vibrant role was also often touched by tragedy. Beneath the merry veneer of their performances, jesters sometimes faced personal and professional struggles that painted another, more somber hue onto the canvas of their lives. Imagine the court as a stage where applause echoes and laughter reigns, but when the curtains fall and the audience disperses, the jester stands alone in the muted echoes of joy they conjured. Amidst their extravagant displays of humour lay the weight of expectation and existential solitude. Their identity, so entwined with performance, breeds a complex duality, where personal struggles are masked behind the deceptive simplicity of a jest. Life at court wasn't always lavish for jesters. Beyond the gilded halls, many jesters came from humble beginnings, and their rise to courtly prestige did not always equate to a life of luxury. In many cases, they lived on the periphery of noble life, somewhere between a beloved entertainer and an expendable servant. This uncertain standing presented unique challenges and an ever-present tension between security. Moreover, their singular role often detached them from the societal norms and familial structures that others enjoyed. Relationships outside the performance space could prove difficult to foster, as their identity was intertwined with their role, creating barriers of misconception and stereotype. Their unique connection with those at the very top frequently contrasted with an isolation from peers who misunderstood or envied their position. This dichotomy was further complicated by the mental and emotional toll of their work. A jester's skill set was built on empathy and observation, which ironically left them vulnerable to the very society they entertained. The same astuteness that allowed jesters to perceive and critique societal norms also served as a mirror reflecting their own vulnerabilities and isolation in an environment of constant laughter and perpetual expectations. Historians debate the depth of isolation experienced by jesters, or whether their standing offered them a unique freedom that transcended traditional societal roles. Yet, historical anecdotes and self-reflections penned by jesters suggest that while they were revered for their wit, they also bore the silent burden of maintaining such facades, often without respite. To an observer, the jester might seem perpetually jubilant, a symbol of vivacity within the court. Yet, beneath their laughter lies the complexity of existence, forcing a confrontation with the human condition. Despite the joy they brought, you can imagine them confiding in those rare and trusted confidants the heaviness of their own trials, where vulnerability and insecurity collide, manifesting in moments before performances or in quiet introspections when they weren't expected to amuse. Furthermore, they could find themselves at the mercy of whims beyond their control. A change in the royal favour, the upending of political dynamics, or shifting tastes in entertainment could render a jester obsolete or expendable. Once spared by their capacity to enlighten through jest, they could find themselves instead entangled in the very machinations they once exposed, their fortunes contingent upon their next performance. No longer the audience's darling, what could have been pages of rapturous applause might transform to silence, a fading echo against the walls of a court that had moved on to newer amusements. And yet, within this poignant narrative of jesters touched by both joy and sorrow, lies an indomitable resilience. The same skills that made them jesters enabled many to survive harsh realities, a testament to their fortitude and adaptability. They remain figures of enduring intrigue and empathy, their dual existence a reminder that even in laughter, life presents its own hardships, and that behind every joke lay layers of personal truth and silent tenacity. In the shadow of the comedic mask, they challenge us to look beyond the merriment they inspired, recognizing the depth of their human story. A reminder that in their struggle lies an extraordinary celebration of resilience, transforming tribulation into laughter, living two lives between each breath and bow. As you continue your journey through the history of jesters, you observe how their role evolved over time, adapting to the shifting sands of societal norms and political landscapes. The jester, a figure often seen as timeless, did not remain static. Instead, they changed, molded by and molding the environments in which they perform. Step into a transitional world where the rigid structures of medieval feudal life begin to wane, giving way to Renaissance enlightenment and expanding personal liberties. Amid these sweeping societal shifts, the role of the jester transforms, reflecting the nuances of an era becoming increasingly aware of its intellectual potentials and cultural diversities. As courts expanded their interest in artistic and philosophical pursuits, the jester's role began to overlap with that of emerging comedic playwrights and entertainers. Relying less on farcical antics than before, the jester began incorporating elements of theatre and language into their performances. Imagine them drawing from the works of budding playwrights, infusing their routines with sophisticated wordplay and intellectual satire that spoke to an audience growing in literary appreciation and curiosity about the world. The emergence of broader art forms meant that court jesters became forerunners of modern theatre, where the jester's stagecraft birthed a society more attuned to wit spoken through the written and spoken word, rather than just physical comedy. Meanwhile, the courts themselves, striving to be seen as cultured and debonair, openly embraced this renaissance in entertainment. The jester became less the fool in the corner and more a commentator on the human condition, increasingly attuned to societal shifts and able to articulate them with perceptive eloquence. With the gradual breakdown of stringent hierarchical barriers, some jesters managed to step beyond their own roles entirely, fitting themselves within the growing vein of actors and dramatists surfacing in urban settings. Historians observe how the jester's characteristic flair for language and satire heavily influenced the development of characters and plot lines in the burgeoning European theatre tradition. Simultaneously, jesters found themselves moving beyond the walls of courts into public spaces, where performances reached a broader audience. This transition mirrored a society moving slowly toward democratization, where entertainment became an accessible delight for commoners and royalty alike. They became not just singular figures, but part of troupes or consorts, integral to fairs and festivities, intertwining with the life of bustling towns and villages. Despite evolving away from singular courtly confinement, they retained a connection to their roots in humour, offering insights into changing societal structures with their ability to adapt readily to the political and social complexities of the times. Some jesters leveraged their influence by becoming writers in their own right, penning pamphlets or satirical pieces that commented on the social conditions and policies of their day. Scholars still discuss the impact of this transformation, debating if it led to the diminished social stature of jesters or gave them a broader canvas on which to paint their art. Did stepping into the public amend their influence from critical insiders to popular entertainers, spreading culture and commentary in the streets of new cities? What is clear is that the malleability of the jester's role provided it with a longevidity few other positions could claim. Where the traditional court, steeped in ceremony and hierarchy, diminished, the essence of the jester embedded itself in places accessible to all, reinforcing humour's role as both a critique and a comfort in an ever-advancing world. Engagement with wider cultural phenomena allowed the jester to continually reinvent their purpose, hinting at the timelessness of humorous insight paired with social awareness. Within these moments of cultural shift, you see jesters not as relics of medieval glamour, but as adaptable custodians of mirthful wisdom, ensuring humour's continuity even as humanity's narratives evolved. This enduring relevance illustrates the vibrancy of the jester's legacy, a role now branching out into the world, transforming into the ghosts of theatre and echoes of comedians who, to this day, reflect on humanity's follies with the same intelligent wit that jesters skillfully wielded centuries before. In their evolution lies the testament to the power of humour to evolve with and reflect upon the society that both creates and cherishes it. As the threads of history weave forward, you begin to see how the legacy of the medieval jester reverberates through time, influencing modern comedy and satire, resonating within the humour and storytelling we cherish today. The role of the jester, far from withering into obscurity, has echoed its themes, blurring lines between past and present, laughter and insight, until they meld into a unified narrative spanning centuries. Imagine yourself in a modern comedy club, the flicker of stage lights illuminating a performer whose art is anchored in the jesters of old. With each quip and every anecdote, their performance channels the spirit of jesters past, those who delighted in the delicate push and pull of humour and truth-telling, adeptly distilling life's absurdities into palatable, thought-provoking narratives. You recognise elements of their craft that hark back to the courts of kings, where jesters once stood. In the transition from medieval stages to modern ones, jesters largely cast off their motley costumes for the varied garb of contemporary entertainers, from stand-up comics to satirical writers, all inheritors of their legacy. Consider how comedy's modern practitioners play roles not unlike those of age-old jesters. They wield humour as commentary, offering a lens through which society examines itself. Through skits and sketches, they critique political landscapes and social mores, occasionally treading boldly into spaces others fear to venture, much like their jester forebears. Reflect on satire's significant evolution, from Jester's jest to the powerful pen of satirical columnists and cartoonists who employ humour to keys. The same wit used to deflate pompousness in medieval courts now finds a rhythm in television shows, late-night monologues and publications both online and off. The jester's spirit finds life not only as ubiquitous entertainment, but as a crucial societal function, creating space for discourse under the guise of humour, carving paths through which critical engagements with reality can unfold. Historians argue the precise influence jesters had on art forms outside the strict comedy as well. Their discussion extends into plays, literature and films, each medium carefully dissecting their historical evolution while heralding the improvised brilliance that these classic figures once imparted. Whether in Shakespeare's unforgettable fools, who act as mirrors reflecting deeper truths within plays, or in the banter of charismatic hosts confronting current events head-on, the jester's legacy unfurls broadly across genres and generations. The impact of jesters persists in their unique ability to humanize the abstract, connect audiences emotionally, and crystallize contemporary fears into narratives that encourage resilience and understanding, tangible descendants of the medieval fool's insight. Whether entertaining the electorate or educating through entertainment, jesters' successors continue distilling life's complexities into pointed insights that prompt reflection, echoing that default blend of humour's warmth with intellect's razor edge. Their legacy extends beyond simple entertainment into the very fabric of cultural history, maintaining a presence in arenas both political and personal. The enduring presence of jester-like figures entertains and empowers, with their comedic intelligence bestowing lightness and perspective amidst the chaos of modern existence. Armed with improvised wit and rigorously studied humour, Jester's airs challenge current systems, ensuring perspectives broaden, sanity survives, and laughter bolsters spirits against life's inevitable pressures. Within this continuum, you see that jesters have carved pathways in cultural history more deeply than imagined. They constructed bridges where words and worlds disconnect, forging unity from adversity and liberating truth through carefully curated laughter. As history weaves forward, the jester's soul carries forward timeless humour centred on clarity and compassion, ever adapting to the exigencies of time, inviting reflection upon the frailties and triumphs of mankind. A testament to irrepressible spirit, elevated humorously through epochs. In understanding the resonance of jesters through history's oscillations, you aren't merely seeing echoes of entertainment. You're witnessing societal evolution itself, an intricate pattern of humanity tracing its steps through humour's vibrant imprints, invoking always the herald of jest. As you delve into the final acts of the jester's narrative, it becomes clear that their impact did not simply wind down into obscurity. Instead, their legacy remained potent and vivid, even as the traditional role of the jester began to transform or fade from the courts. The idea of the jester, with its blend of humour and truth, transcends time, continuing to impress upon generations a unique vision of society that is both irreverent and introspective. Picture a grand medieval hall where a jester has just finished their performance. The laughter and applause still linger in the air, but as the crowd disperses, the jester takes a moment in the quiet solitude of the emptying hall. This setting, once filled with the exuberant banter of courtiers, now whispers of secrets shared and truths uncovered through the jester's antics. This is the jester's moment of reflection, akin to taking a final bow not in front of an audience, but in the annals of history itself. With the changing times, as the structured courts of feudal Europe morph into more modernized systems where the power of monarchies waned, so too did the traditional jester's role evolve. Their final laugh can be seen not as an ending, but a metamorphosis. The concrete walls of the castle halls gave way to broader forums of entertainment across the burgeoning theatres and public squares of evolving cities, expanding their influence. As jesters began to fade from the courts, their legacy took root in emergent forms of entertainment and expression. Some jesters transitioned into roles as playwrights or actors, channeling their craft into the rising tide of theatrical arts. Others disappeared from historical record, their mysteries rekindled only by brief mention in court documents and family archives, emerging like whispers through time. Historians discuss the idea that the jester's essence transitioned into the very heart of burgeoning theatrical traditions, infused into what would blossom into the more organized craft of acting and playwriting in the Renaissance, their contributions rewarded by centuries of community praise and lighter hearts, encapsulating the essential human need for laughter amidst the fast-moving currents of social progress. Remember, for every jest that delighted, another held a mirror to society's contradictions. Jesters didn't just vanish, their ethos scattered into cultural consciousness, sown like seeds ready to sprout in the fertile grounds of personal and public narrative. They paved the way for entertainers and commentators who adeptly flex humour and truth within the spheres of influence and inquiry, unfettered by restrictions of method and medium. In modern contexts, there are equivalents to jesters in every corner of society. From Jester's intuitive spirit, now embodied in provocative comedians who masterfully engage with audiences both in jest and critique, to satirists whose pens remain sharper than any king's sword. These contemporary jesters, whose acts are more conscious craft than happy accident, uphold a boundless capacity to inspire and challenge individuals worldwide. The idea that jesters had played their last role, imparting a final laugh, shapes an illusion, as the reality persists that jesters didn't disappear, they transformed. Their craft, their presence, and most importantly their insights, remain embedded in the architecture of performance art and societal commentary. Their existence and the stories they leave behind invite us to understand history not just as a sequence of events, but as cultural tapestries interwoven with humorous artistry. Through this lens, Jester's legacy endures, not locked away in dusty tomes, but actively replayed within each clever quip, each hearty chortle gifted upon eager listeners captivated by the timeless dance of laughter and truth. Therefore, in recognizing the jester's last laugh, absorb its meaning as a beginning, mirroring life's ceaseless evolution, and reminding us how humor remains ever irresistible, a beacon against life's prevailing unknowns, undaunted and ever poised for the ultimate triumph of acknowledging our shared humanity in each smile exchanged across eras, eternally bridging past with present. As you transition through the chronicles of the jester's world, you enter a poignant chapter portraying the inevitable decline of the traditional court jester, a decline marked by the advance of new forms of entertainment and an ever-changing social landscape. The fading presence of jesters within courtly realms reflects a broader cultural shift, signalling the slow yet inexorable transformation of entertainment's role in society. Imagine the echoing halls of once bustling courts, where the clamour of knights and nobles once resounded, now evolving into spaces of different exchanges, those shaped by the changes of political structure and taste. As the Renaissance sweeps through Europe, bringing with it an era of intellectual reawakening and an embrace of standardized theatre, the jester's motley becomes a rarer sight, a relic of an earlier time. The courtly stages, once singular magnets for entertainment, gradually give way to public theatres and playhouses, where dramas and comedies captivate wider audiences. Here, in these burgeoning creative arenas, jesters began to find their traditional roles replaced by actors who brought to life entire repertoires filled with newly minted characters, echoing both Shakespearean wit and classic foolery. Society grew more attentive to scripted narratives, embracing the elaboration and complexity of stories enacted on dramatically new terms. In tandem, the role of jesters also faded as political structures morphed, marked by evolving governance and the diminished power of monarchies. The entrenched hierarchies that had long supported elaborate courts and their jesters gave way to forms of government less beholden to formal entertainment. Wealth and culture spread beyond the grasp of royal privilege, prompting jesters to reinvent or completely redefine their own identities outside palace walls, scattered like echoes among the tinsels of modernity. Some jesters managed to evolve alongside these cultural shifts, transitioning seamlessly into the world of professional theatre, thus ensuring their talents adapted to changing tastes. Their skills, born in the crucible of medieval courts, flourished on public stages and in comedic acts, illuminating the path of theatrical progress. Historians discuss how these jesters might have influenced emerging playwrights who mined traditional jester motifs to create witty, layered characters that endured through centuries of dramatic expression. In this era, light-hearted folly gave way to the exploration of the human condition through more structured storytelling and varied art forms. In theatres across growing cities, the jesters' influence was perceptible, and their spirit emerged stronger than ever, entwined with the creative tapestry of evolving clowns and comedy. Laughter ceased to be the sole province of intrigue-packed courts, now thriving where noise and life mixed, infusing every street corner, public house and theatre floor with joie de vivre. Meanwhile, outside the cultural transformation, deeper changes were afoot. Society moved towards Enlightenment pursuits, emphasizing science, philosophy and reason. The jester, who once thrived in the tension between folly and insight, felt the pull of these intellectual currents, as their puns and parody came to shadow broader critiques of societal norms within public discourses. And so, while their presence at court faded, the jester's legacy lingered, embodying humour's timeless resilience. Jest lived on amid the rumination of scholars, the precise craft of actors, and the levity of clowns spreading across the global stage. With each tick of time's unending clock, Jester's final performances in royal courts need only be considered transformative rather than terminal. Their tales, spun in humour's golden age, were recast for the ages, myriad adaptations crafting a world where Jest navigated the open seas of both tradition and innovation, moving with deft precision into theatre's colonnades and hearts far beyond. So, as you ponder the twilight of the court jester, ease into the comforting presence of their everlasting influence, a legacy crafted from laughter and poignance that dances through history like shimmering motes in rays of light, calling forth a constellation of smiles across time's starlit horizon. As you listen to the final echoes of merry jingles fade into a softer, more reflective resonance, allow your mind to drift gently into the comforting warmth of history's embrace, a reassurance that even as jesters fade, the laughter they conjure remains an eternal light in humanity's cosmic journey. Close your eyes to the gentle laughter of eternity, and let it guide you softly into sleep, where dreams and whimsical reveries reside. As you pause in the flow of history, reflecting on the jester's legacy, you find yourself recalling how their laughter and antics are remembered beyond the confines of courtly walls. Surprisingly, the memory of jesters takes root in the evolving tapestry of storytelling, influencing literature, theatre, and popular culture. Imagine yourself in an ornate library, its shelves heavy with volumes from across the centuries. The smell of aged paper fills the air, while dust particles dance languidly in the warm glow of candlelight. A perfect setting to delve into the narratives that hold jesters in reverence, remembering them with both affection and intrigue. Within these literary tomes and theatrical scripts, jesters are immortalized, not simply as figures of folly, but as catalysts of deeper contemplation. Through characters inspired by their quirks and cleverness, the jester's spirit lives on, manifesting in the eloquently reckless wisdom they once shared with kings and queens. The allegorical role of jesters unfolds as a focus of admiration, earning a unique place amidst narratives that probe human complexity through satire, farce, and irony. Shakespeare, a master at painting human depth beneath comedic tones, famously weaves jesters into his works. Think of characters like Feste in Twelfth Night or the iconic Fool in King Lear, who blur the boundary between silliness and sagacity. These characters mirror the historical jester's gift for disguising wisdom within whimsy, echoing their once vital role while challenging audiences to ponder and reflect on the nature of truth amid performance. And so, beyond the historical, we now encounter jesters within dramatic gestures and poignant prose. The echoes of their playful banter and profound insights resonate in stories crafted to examine human vulnerability and virtue alike, a representative journey between joy and solemnity, enchantment and enlightenment. Of course, it isn't only in high culture where they find homage and recognition. From fairy tales spun for children to folk stories shared around campfires, the figure of the jester transmutes into the archetype of the trickster, a character who, through cunning and wit, fortuitously navigates the world's chaos. Such characters delight and surprise as they upend societal norms and satirize societal foibles, embodying the jester's essence in myriad forms across diverse cultures. However, recalling them now does more than provoke laughter. It fosters a bridge across time, reconnecting present audiences with the playful genius that shaped ages once ruled by courts and kings. Whether through literature, film, or theatre, these perennial figures encourage exploration into criticism shrouded in jest. Historians ponder how memories of jesters persistently linger within cultural imaginations, whether the resonance stems from nostalgia for simpler times or a deeper cultural hunger for truth, masked by humour. Their tales reveal not just amusement but comfort, an assurance against life's uncertainties, as told through the narratives of characters who prevailed through intelligence and folly. As you wander the metaphoric paths paved by the artful jest, you sense the transcendence of jesters beyond history's physical remains and into the shared human consciousness. Even today, storytellers invoke the jester's spirit as an emblem of resilience and reflection, characters bearing humour's transformative power amidst the human journey. Ultimately, as you close this chapter in your exploration, you remember that jester figures serve not merely as shadows of the past, but as colourful threads in the cultural tapestry, a hint of whimsy, interwoven with the substantive contemplation of life's tragedies and triumphs. They are vestiges of an enduring tradition reminding us to embrace joy and laughter as timeless entities, able to erect sanctuaries within which we might ponder and transcend, forever threading the dance of folly and wisdom through history's vast narrative. As you continue to trace the evolution of jesters beyond the echoes of their historic past, you find yourself rooted in today's vibrant intersection of media and entertainment, a world where jesters' spirits are rediscovered, revived, and reimagined. In the kaleidoscope of modern storytelling, you witness how the essence of the medieval jester, part fool, part philosopher, imbues contemporary forms of expression with humour's timeless charm. Imagine tuning into a television sitcom or streaming a comedy show where the humorist's sharp wit illuminates and critiques everyday situations, much like the jesters of old, who wielded humour to both delight and provoke. The laughter they elicit serves as both an escape and a mirror, reflecting the nuances of modern living through the lens of jesters' comedic lineage. Their jokes, like echoes of courtly banter, nudge us toward reflection, subtly pointing out absurdities and inspiring change. Our entertainment landscape extends well beyond traditional television. Digital platforms pulse with vibrant creators whose content skews thoughtful and sharp, resonating strongly with jester-like tones. Stand-up comedians perform their routines in clubs, online or during specials, delivering monologues that deftly combine social commentary with humour. These modern jesters interpret the world with a critical, comedic eye, often challenging audiences to examine their beliefs and cultural conventions anew. As society grapples with political and social complexities, satire surges to the forefront, filling an essential role previously held by the jesters in royal courts. Today's satirists, whether on late-night talk shows or viral internet clips, wield humour to explore sensitive topics and engage audiences in meaningful conversation. By invoking humour, these entertainers cross societal boundaries, sparking dialogue and prompting reflection on issues that impact our collective human experience. Historians observe the adaptability of humour through time, pondering whether jesters of yesteryear would recognise their modern progeny in this multifaceted entertainment age. Contemporary jesters craft content that initiates discussion, driven by the same daring spirit that encouraged their medieval forebears. Much like the court jesters of old, today's humorists negotiate the tension between entertainment and critique, continuing the cycle of insight wrapped in jest. The cultural role of jest continues to expand, interweaving with artistry that spans visual and auditory formats. Theatre companies adapt historical jester motifs into modern scripts, transforming age-old comedic devices into performances that resonate with contemporary themes. Film directors infuse their works with characters or scenes reminiscent of foolery, exploring dichotomies between wisdom and folly in new narratives. Meanwhile, literature carries jester archetypes into plot lines that explore human complexity with humour. Writers and poets encode jester-like characters into their stories, probing society's intricacies while surprising audiences with humour's unexpected insights. Even in graphic novels and comics, jesters find a home. Their colourful allegories serve as vehicles for understanding the world's capricious twists and turns. Yet, as jesters re-enter the cultural domain, they remind us that their clever repartees spring from human emotions and desires recognisable across time. They invite introspection, delivering laughter tempered with insight, sparking shifts in perception, and challenging norms while renewing appreciation for the delicate art of comedy. In your exploration of Jester's newfound cultural resurgence, You recognize that humor's spirit transcends eras, threading through time as an elastic conduit of continuity. Jesters embody humanity's enduring thirst for levity amidst hardship, promising clarity and connection through humour steeped in authenticity. This rediscovery of jest in modern guise affirms the unbroken lineage of laughter as it morphs across time's cultures and subcultures, each reinvention rekindling the flames of the jester's torch. Whether echoing across screens, stages, or pages, Jester's legacy sparkles like myriad constellations, all part of a cosmic arrangement urging humanity to embrace joy while navigating history's expanse with humour and grace. In understanding these intricate ties, you observe how jest, in its many forms, remains humanity's eternal partner, ensuring that with every laugh, span of wisdom, and light-hearted critique, the legacy endures. Traversing time's expansive theatre, as you delve deeper into the narrative thread that weaves through the history of jesters, a fascinating duality emerges. The lingering remnants of laughter, juxtaposed against a backdrop of introspective sorrow. This dichotomy underscores the jester's role as both a beacon of joy and a poignant reminder of the human condition's complexity. It's within the echoes of their laughter, perceptible in the novels we read, the performances we watch, and the conversations we engage in, that you begin to decipher the profound impact jesters have had on culture. However, beneath these echoes runs an undercurrent of sorrow, a reminder that the jester's life was often a tapestry woven with intricate strands of melancholy and merriment. Imagine the jester as a conduit of emotion, channeling not only untamed joy but also the pains and hypocrisies of society, offering glimpses into the vulnerabilities and triumphs of humanity. Their humour, vibrant and effervescent, drew audiences in with its mirthful facade while simultaneously addressing perennial truths cloaked in levity. This duality, having the ability to uplift while simultaneously conveying serious commentary, sent the jester a figure both light-hearted and contemplative. When jesters spun their tales and performed their tricks, they didn't just entertain. They reflected back the realities of courtly life and human nature. Above all, they understood laughter's power to soothe while subtly addressing the sources of one's unease. At their core, jesters offered reconciliation between the laughter that united communities and the introspection needed to navigate life's complexities. From this vantage point, you start to see how their legacy lingers in popular culture and entertainment today. Comedians, satirists, and performers follow in their footsteps, crafting contemporary narratives that emulate this rich blend of humour and melancholy. They provoke laughter that ripples through the room, even as they pinpoint the tender threads of life intertwined with their stories. Historians often debate the precise nature of jesters' influence on the societies they served. Were they merely jest makers, or did they hold deeper existential dialogues encoded within their performances, shaping the mores and ideals of their day? This scholarly inquiry reveals layers within the jester's seeming simplicity, encouraging us to contemplate the deeper elements of their legacy. This dual aspect of comedy and reflection is what propels the jester's influence into... Take present-day comedians and satirical authors, for instance. They expertly tap into collective moods, crafting that rare kind of laughter that both comforts and challenges. Their ability to traverse humour's dichotomy confirms the jester's enduring legacy, a melding of influence that empowers audiences to engage with life's myriad complexities. In literature, for instance, characters reminiscent of the jester embody this confluence of light and shadow, leveraging levity to examine profound social and personal themes. Film offers likewise. Comedic characters coax empathy and introspection from viewers, illuminating paths through intricate human dilemmas. Their escapades might entertain, but their core remains deeply meaningful, providing audiences with both joy and an invitation to think beyond the laughter. In recognizing this dual legacy of jesters, you grasp the profound cultural lineage forged by these humorous artisans. They remind us that even as life's weight bears down, there exists an age-old remedy in laughter, a tool for examining and transcending the sorrows within. As you explore these multifaceted echoes across time, notice how the laughter carried forward into today finds balance with thoughtful reflection. This simultaneous embrace of joy and sorrow, far from being paradoxical, becomes an expression of humanity's enduring endurance and enlightenment. Therefore, as Jester's legacy continues reverberating through time, recognize it not as a singular historical artifact, but as an eternal cultural narrative, a poetic interplay of wit and wisdom that dances through eternity, ensuring every act of laughter remains both a celebration and a contemplation. Through this dance, humanity continues to find the courage to face life's challenges and the wisdom to smile through them. As you venture further into the mystical realm of jesters, the notion of their elusiveness beckons, a dreamlike vision of what it meant to embody the role with its attendant challenges and rewards. You enter a world where the act of becoming a jester resembles a quest, embarking on a journey to wrap laughter around truth, knowledge, and an ethereal blend of whimsy and wisdom. Picture yourself standing at a crossroads, the very landscape of possibility unfurling ahead of you. For those called to the cloth of motley, the path is neither straightforward nor entirely understood. Becoming a jester is akin to chasing shadows, where success requires mastering the alchemy of humour and intuition, telling tales while glimpsing the world through a kaleidoscope of colour and candour. The idea of becoming a jester is wrapped in mystery, a dream of becoming something both more and less than the sum of its parts. There is no formal apprenticeship, no guidebook to follow. Instead, it requires a raw talent, ignited by imagination and a deep understanding of the human condition. Before you is a journey that demands creativity, courage, and the ability to craft laughter from life's chaos and contradictions. Skills that can be as elusive as they are enchanting. Perhaps you, as a prospective jester, would first absorb the world around you, listening to stories whispered in marketplaces, absorbing the cadence of life's spoken word. Here you'd learn to read both people and environments, gleaning valuable lessons from local colour and language. You would hone your skills in acting and mimicry, distancing yourself from mere impressions to nurture the finesse of understanding and interpreting. As you stand at the cusp of whether to pursue this path, imagine testing your craft amid bustling townspeople or in the caravans of travelling performers, refining your repartee, maybe inciting mirth with a caper or song, each performance a rehearsal for greater stages. Your objective would be to sharpen your wits like a sword, learning how words could pierce as deeply as any blade, how laughter could heal social wounds, and how humour could act as your greatest shield. Considering the progression from novice to adept, the dream of jesterhood is not only engagement with an audience, but the creation of moments filled with levity and light. Each jest you construct would draw audience members deeper into the world you build, transcending their daily realities into something magical and insightful. Historians assert that while the journey was seldom predictable, those who were successful could capture the very essence of human emotion, punctuating narratives with both hilarity and humanity. For many, the prospect of being a jester was as much a fantasy as it was a pursuit of passion. The performance art transcending mere articulation, transforming the sacred space between laughter and the listener into an aspect of artful life. In this ephemeral dream of becoming a jester, every performance sought to imprint upon the hearts of the audience, fostering connection through the gentle art of jest. It was about creating a space where humour laid bare the truth, where the shared experience of laughter provided respite from life's uncertainties, and where foolery revealed deep insight. Unravelling the dream of becoming a jester is to engage with mystery and imagination, a creative ethos beyond structured art one wherein joy, reflection and resilience united as bold strokes upon the canvas of human insight. As dreams of jesterhood transition into modernity, remember how the craft is reborn and reimagined endlessly. The journey defies containment, continuing in varied forms and expressions, where each performer, each new laugh and every fresh perspective continues the timeless celebration of life's curious dance between wisdom and whimsy. Embracing this dream is to acknowledge a legacy that endures, a promise that jest will always find its place in the human spirit, alive with possibility, ever ready to lift the heart, provoke the mind, and embrace the eternal dance with laughter's delightful grace. As the curtain draws on your exploration of jesters throughout history, you find yourself standing at the edge of an expansive night sky, where the stars hold the stories of those jesters who once lit up the courts with laughter and insight. In these final insights under moonlight, we find ourselves contemplating the enduring mystery of jesters, a narrative woven with humour, wisdom, and the gentle urge to reflect and dream. Picture a serene evening, the moon casting its gentle glow upon a quiet courtyard, where echoes of past performances linger like whispers on the breeze. The tranquil hum of crickets provides a soothing background to the tapestry of history that you've woven as we've travelled through time together. In this moment, allow your thoughts to drift, cradling the poignant truths uncovered under the veil of comedy. In tracing the evolution and legacy of Jesters, you've uncovered 1,000 stories wherein humour's flickering light revealed the heart of human complexity. Jesters were more than mere entertainers. They were astute observers and agile commentators, harnessing joy and jest as a means of making sense of the world. They were bridges between laughter and lessons, crafting spaces where humour and insight dwelled harmoniously. Even now, their influence echoes through the narratives continuously being told, each a partner in a long dance of wit and reflection we uphold. Imagine how each jest echoed a silent truth, each laugh a thread pulling communities closer, exuding comfort through shared mirth. Think about how their art emphasized the bonds between royal courts and common crowds, the dialogues the jesters engendered forming an essential thread in weaving the human experience. Here, they acted as a constant reminder that laughter holds the potential to transcend grief and illuminate unexpected joys. So, too, is their continuing legacy a reminder in modern settings, on stages, in stories, and within your heart, that humour entwines with humanity's richer wisdom. Insight and jest reflect like twin moons in a clear cosmic lake, a reminder that joyously walking through life's narrative allows us to greet existence's inevitabilities with courage and grace, as Jesters taught us. As we fade into the soft embrace of this narrative's conclusion, consider the enduring wisdom of Jesters not as an endpoint, but as a journey's everlasting friend one, inviting us to take up the mantle of their legacy, to find laughter in new lines and chapters to come. Soldier on as the bastion of humour expands into new epochs, teasing wisdom from life's intricate dance, where jest reigns supreme and surrender its salve upon the world's stage, learning to live by lessons wrapped in mirth. In these closing moments, as night breathes its gentle lullaby, rest in the assurance of Jester's timeless gifts, a rich tapestry of wit and warmth, woven across time for all who wander in search of joy and truth. We leave them in the starlit halls of memory, but remember, dear traveller, that with every smile, each laugh shared and newfound jest, we breathe life back into their enduring tales. Now, as you gently settle into tranquility, let the comforting lull of history's embrace cradle you. Let laughter's echoes guide you, breathing peace as you drift into dreams. Know that these tales of yesteryears will stir your thoughts, shaping tomorrow's horizons brewed in harmony with bygone gestures, rooting joy and reflection in the certainty of mateless continuity. Through blissful slumber, may serenity keep its watch over this journey's mapless wonder, ever gentle currents wafting softly within the wave of time's expansive theatre, greater than greater than greater than end of script. Sweet dreams.